wealth buying assets. About to buy me an address. I'm running with the runners now. We run where the cash is. Took it from under the mattress. Now it's all over the atlas.
All right, welcome in everyone. This is Michael Tharp, EDU. It starts with you. Today, we have a special guest on the show, JP. He identifies as a Bored Ape now, but I've known him and been working with him for about 2 years now, and super genius. He's got a great group of guys that he works with. I used to do Zooms with him and some of the expert traders he runs with. These guys know what they're doing. And what this is about is the metaverse and play to earn gaming. And if you guys haven't heard, I don't know where you've been. This is kind of all the rage now. I think it's going to be one of the leading applications for the blockchain or cryptocurrencies. The gaming industry right now is huge. People, kids, teenagers, even adults spend hours a day playing gaming. So rather than sending that money to some centralized, Fortnite game, why not get paid to do it? And I believe they actually have a way for, even if you're not into playing video games like myself, that you can profit from it. So JP is here. He's going to explain to us, and we're going to kind of walk through what Arcade is. JP, welcome in, brother.
Hey, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. Super excited about what we're building, and excited to kind of share it with your community. So I'll do just a quick intro on myself. Like you said, my name's JP. I've been in crypto for about 7 years. I've been trading stocks and equities for a little over 10 years. My background professionally is in business development and project management. So I am the CEO and a co-founder here at Arcade. We are currently in development, and our launch date for the public sale for the token is going to be early to mid Q2 is kind of the range that we're in right now. But yeah, super excited to kind of share more about what we're building. Like Mike said, we think that play to earn and GameFi is a really big deal, and that it's going to be the next wave that really brings a lot of adoption to the crypto industry. So we're trying to make GameFi more easily accessible to people and kind of simplifying that process for them. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and share my screen here and pull up the
and while you're doing that, Josh, I think there's so many projects out there, and when I've looked at what they're building here with Arcade, it makes complete sense, and it really fills a niche in the marketplace that I think is not there. Because people, you can see all these things on Instagram of play to earn, but like people don't really know how to get started. Or if they do, they don't have the money, or if people have the money, but they don't want to play video games, what do you do? So I'm excited to hear about this. So just kind of as we go through it, I'll ask some questions and maybe clarify to help the audience understand what this is and how, really revolutionary it is.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that sounds great. Feel free to interrupt me at any point. When I start talking about it, I can kind of just ramble a little bit. So feel free to stop me. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. All right, so we'll go ahead and get underway here. So the name of the project is Arcade. Really the first few slides here are just looking at the addressable market, right? The opportunity within the metaverse and GameFi. And I think that a lot of people are starting to realize that this is a hot industry. This is cutting edge technology. And we're seeing large companies like Meta and Microsoft and Disney and Sony and Activision, right? All of these massive corporations and conglomerates are starting to really pile into the metaverse. And it's really reminiscent of the kind of the internet boom, right? Like when the internet first started gaining traction, or even before then, like when the NASDAQ launched and like tech companies started to come to fruition. We're really seeing a similar trend here. And if history repeats itself, the metaverse could be, the best opportunity in our lives. So we're trying to, really lower that barrier to entry for people and educate them and help them understand more about this market and, just how impactful it can be. And that it's not all, doom and gloom like some portrayals out there are. It's not necessarily to the extent of like a Ready Player One where the world falls apart, aside from metaverse, right? There's a balance that can be struck there where it really positively impacts the average person. So just to kind of close the initial thought here is, we're just getting a lot of institutional interest here. We're seeing very large companies funneling millions or billions of dollars into this space right now. So I think the main concern that a lot of people have going into kind of the GameFi, acknowledgement of the space is that, how sustainable is it, right? Like if you're going to get paid for the play, how sustainable can that model possibly be? And people always point to Axie Infinity, saying like, well, the Axie token, really got sold off into the dust, right? Because there was so much selling pressure, the emissions was so aggressive. And I think Axie is actually a really good model of, it's an early model of kind of what doesn't work in some cases, right? Not to say that Axie is gonna go away, because they have a very large studio now with all kinds of money, so they're able to correct their economy. But I think that they kind of they've proven for a lot of the industry what things have to be in check for sustainability. And we believe that it is a matter of, there really being a play for fun factor, right? There can't just be this closed loop economy where everyone that goes into the ecosystem is expecting to make money out of it. And that's the only reason they're there, the primary reason that they're there, which has been the case. And there has to be a demographic of people that are willing to play the game without earning. And for that to happen, there has to be a play for fun factor. And that's why, when we're comparing the revenue models of like something like Fortnite, where, people are putting insane amounts of money into Fortnite and they're not earning anything. And the reason is that it's fun, right? It's addicting. People enjoy doing it. They want to play and hang out with their friends. So really where we think that play to earn becomes sustainable is when these AAA quality games come to market and there is that play for fun factor, keeping the economy alive.
And let me just add a few things to that, Josh. So for those of you that don't know, Axie Infinity was kind of the first play to earn game that really broke through. There was two tokens. One was the Axie Infinity, which I just looked, and it's I think around $60 right now. But what people would do is play this game and they would get something called Smooth Love Potion, or SLP. But there was no other real use for that. So as soon as people played the game, they would just sell their SLP. And SLP peaked at 35 and is now sitting at 1.5 cents. So that's kind of what Josh is talking about. But like he said, Axie Infinity has put away millions, if not billions of dollars. So like they can go and buy their own gaming studio now. So I think it will work long term, but you're exactly right, as it kind of showed us what worked and what doesn't. And then going into Fortnite, I mean, my kids play that game a lot. They've probably spent thousands of dollars on skins and weapons and all this stuff. They got nothing from it, and it's trapped on Fortnite.
Exactly.
If they lose their even logins, it's gone.
Mm-hmm. That you can never realize any kind of value from those skins again, right? I mean,
right.
These centralized companies even make it, against their terms and conditions to even try to do account swapping, right? So it's like they lock you into this situation where you've put, your kids put thousands of dollars into this game, and if they ever stop playing Fortnite, they just lost a few $1,000s. And really what NFTs and play to earn, it's unlocking this ability for the average person, the average gamer, to have, actual real ownership of the NFTs in the game, right? If you go and buy $1,000 worth of ships for Star Atlas or something, and then a couple years down the road, the game is still going, you just decide, hey, I'm too busy, I can't play this anymore. You can sell those ships back, right? So it really is putting the power back in the hands of the gamers, and these main centralized companies don't like that, right? They're fighting it because that's their entire business model. But that's kind of where the play to earn movement is going right now. So it's just very interesting. But so kind of going into what Arcade kind of is all about, right? So we initially started as a game guild, and we were going around the venture capital and hedge funds looking to raise capital. And the common response we were getting from people was that, hey, we really recognize that the metaverse and GameFi is a really good opportunity, but we don't really know the best way to get exposure to it as an entity, or, as someone that doesn't have a lot of time to game. And really, people were settling for kind of sitting on the NFTs or the non-fungible token assets for, these in-game assets for price appreciation, or, buying the token from that game and then kind of just sitting on it as well. And we believe that there's a lot that's being left on the table there, that the ideal exposure to GameFi is the actual in-game economy, the actual activities happening within that player-driven economy. So, we started to realize that there was this need that needed to be filled within the GameFi space to make that barrier to entry lower for the average person that doesn't have the time or the interest in playing games all the time. So that's kind of what we set off to, provide a solution for, a way to provide that optimal exposure to those in-game activities, something that doesn't exist currently, without sacrificing the time and energy that usually accompanies trying to keep up with all of these, revolutionizing spaces. The metaverse space is moving so fast. It's a full-time job to keep up with all of it.
And this right here, I think, Josh, is why I was so excited about Arcade, because that is the problem. Like, I get this is huge. I want to get as much money as I can into this, new arena. But with everything else I do, I don't have the time to research it and find, I own almost all those tokens you just mentioned, but I'm not utilizing them. I'm not getting the in-play gaming advantage because I just don't have the time or desire to want to get in there and play these games. So this is the perfect, that's the biggest thing when you look at crypto projects. You got to say, what problem are they solving, and do they have a plan to do that? And I think you guys have hit the nail on the head here. So let's go.
Awesome. No, yeah, I appreciate it. And that's really what we started to realize, is that as we were talking to more of these traditional funds, people that have millions of dollars, they want exposure to GameFi, but a hedge fund manager that's managing $50 million worth of assets, they don't have time to play games or even care about it, right? They just want their easy exposure to GameFi. They recognize that it's a really good opportunity and an emerging space, but they don't have the time or energy to keep up with it. And that's really the problem that we're solving. And then when we started to realize that problem, we started to look at, okay, even the average person that doesn't have a ton of money to invest in GameFi, they're sometimes priced out of the opportunity. So we're really a solution for those people too. And then it kind of just ballooned from there. And really now we're this infrastructure layer that is making GameFi more accessible to everyone, whether you have a small budget or you're a hedge fund or a traditional VC that wants exposure. But we are a platform that is built on Solana, on the Solana network. Mike may want to do a quick breakdown, but just in short, Solana is essentially an Ethereum competitor. It's a main, layer one chain that I think most people are aware of at this point. It is one of the larger ones, but I think maybe the most comparable thing to tie it to would probably be Ethereum in terms of operability. But so we're essentially a platform that is giving our community or our token holders the ability to earn those in-game, exposure to those rewards from these in-game activities without the need to actually own the NFT. So this is passed along via our revolutionary mission pools concept. So essentially a mission pool, it can kind of be, it can be thought of as any kind of derivative of in-game activity. So, let's say that it's like a freight mission from one planet to another in the Star Atlas game, or, a month of harvesting land in Illuvium, or, it's a week of revenue from operating a tavern within Mirandus, or it's a 1 hour tournament within, this game. So it really can be any in-game activity. And that's what makes our platform so powerful, is that we're not restricted by, a certain type or a certain duration or a certain blockchain. We can even work with any kind of blockchain. So outside of Solana, we work with games on BSC, on Ethereum, on Solana, on AVAX, any kind of game, any kind of chain, we can interact with it. So that's really what makes our platform powerful. And that's what we call a mission pool, is anything that's derived down into that activity.
So maybe I'm jumping the gun here, and if you explain it later, just skip this question. Would a mission pool be created by kind of the experts at Arcade? Would it be something where like a governance vote, or just kind of random people coming together saying this makes sense?
Yeah, so Arcade is actually we hold an inventory of all of the best assets or the best NFTs across the games that we participate in. So we have a research team that studies these games that are coming to market. We have an economy, or we evaluate the stability of the economy. We evaluate the earning potential. We evaluate the community, the studio that's creating the game. So we create these reports, and then based on that research, we're able to buy up these NFTs from these games. So Arcade owns that inventory, and then we partner with professional gamers or game guilds. That's kind of the other end of the equation. So we partner with a game guild that then operates the NFTs that Arcade holds and deploys those NFTs into in-game activities. So it's a little bit of a collaborative effort between the Arcade team and the game guild that we partner with. And between the two of them, they decide, okay, this makes a good mission pool. Go ahead and launch it. We're going to operate the NFT and do this mission. So that's kind of how that works.
And then just so people know, because I mentioned this to Ricardo and he wasn't sure, Game Guild would just be essentially a group of players that play in the metaverse or other DeFi play to earn games, and you guys kind of partner with them because so they'll actually play it and you own the capital.
Well, we own the NFT, right? So what's in it for the Game Guild? And again, a Game Guild is basically defined as it's a group of professional players within the play-to-earn space. So you can kind of also think of it as like an esports team. So like from traditional gaming, like FaZe or whatever the case may be, it would kind of be like that. So we partner with these groups of professional gamers because we believe that even for the person that has the time to play the game, like if you're not very good at Illuvium and we partner with a game guild and they're professional Illuvium players, you actually are getting a better return by staking in their activity than doing it yourself because they're able to get better results. So we're partnering with these professional gamers that are then operating the NFTs that Arcade owns. So we own the NFT, and then what's in it for the Game Guild is that they're able to extract value for themselves without the risk of actually owning the NFT or having to, get the capital together to buy that NFT. If we have $100,000 plot of land and a game guild knows how to operate that land, but they can't afford a $100,000 piece of land, then they come to Arcade, they operate it without the need to raise that $100,000.
That is absolutely genius. And for those of you who don't know, let me explain why. So we talked about Axie Infinity earlier. What people were doing with that game is they were literally going to the Philippines, finding people that were making, $1 or $2 a day, teaching them how to play Axie Infinity, and then splitting the profit with them. So, you had to kind of vet them a little bit, but essentially you were just finding someone in the third world who had the time play the video game, because the Axie game is very simple. It's kind of like a Pokemon, like attack with fire or whatever. But now that these AAA games are coming out, it's going to be like, people that are in these top esports teams that are the best competitors. Those are the people that you want playing, not some guy in the Philippines that was making $1 an hour or $1 a day the day before. So, I mean, this is absolutely revolutionary. The problems you guys are solving here, I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like within the Illuvium game, that's a good example of something that's going to be highly competitive. And like you may have the opportunity to kind of get your piece of the yield that's being extracted from the best Illuvium team in the world, right? And you can't just go to the Philippines and get a piece of that, right? So that's kind of how, and I think you bring up a good point that AAA quality games is really adding this layer of complexity that makes our platform even more useful. So we are a 2-token system, and kind of what that means is that we have our primary token, the Arcade token, and then we have a secondary token called X-Arcade, which is essentially a synthetic copy of it. So X-Arcade actually represents Arcade that is essentially in escrow. So the flow here is that there's a secondary source, right? The exchange or the DEX or whatever. You get your Arcade token, you do a swap on our platform, and then that Arcade token that you have goes into escrow. It's a locked contract, and then you receive X-Arcade at a 1-to-1 ratio. So the reason that we're doing it this way is because having the ability to keep a closer eye on the economic status of our actual platform and not just the market as a whole, allows for us to dial in these mission pool APYs and the return that contributors get on our platform by having a better idea of how much X Arcade is actually circulating. So at any given time, we'll be able to look at the platform and say, okay, there's 40 million arcade tokens total. And of those 40 million, 10 million of them are X Arcade on the platform. And that, so, by reviewing that information, we can see, okay, only 1/4 of the total circulating supply can be used in a mission pool currently. So that's kind of the justification for why we do it that way. But I think the important takeaway here is just that the arcade token is what's actually going to be sold to the public. And then for people that want to use our platform, right, and we recommend that the token is not, this isn't a token that is meant to be just bought and then taken as an investment. It's a utility token that's meant to be used because that's how you kind of get your piece of the yield that's coming from these games. So we encourage people, you get the arcade token and then you would come to our platform and swap it at a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you have 100 arcade token, you swap it, you get 100 X Arcade tokens, and then you use those X Arcade tokens to interact with the mission pools.
So when you, that's too far ahead. Let me just say that. So from what I'm seeing, there's really no point in just holding arcade in your wallet. You either want to stake it in the liquidity pool and get the staking rewards, or you're going to swap it on your platform for X Arcade and put that in the mission pools to earn, I'm assuming, some sort of passive income on those mission pools.
Yeah, so I mean, when to say that there's really no benefit, I guess isn't really accurate. But I think that because we're a utility token, the whole point of someone purchasing our token is to be able to use it on our platform. So I mean, you could buy the token and then just hold it in your wallet,
it wouldn't make
but
sense.
Exactly, because there's nothing in it for you, right? Like we don't have like an emission schedule where you can just stake the token and then you're just getting more tokens for nothing, right? We don't have like some kind of like single asset arcade staking, thing going on. So there's really no incentive for someone to buy it and just hold it. I mean, you could, because the value of that arcade token is expected to rise. If you believe that, then sure, you could buy it and just hold on to it. But if you're using it on the platform, then not only are you benefiting from any kind of appreciation in the price, but you're also going to benefit from the yield that you're getting from the mission pools. So that certainly is the better way to go about it.
And do the mission pools pay out in X Arcade or in like Solana or some other token?
So the mission pools pay out in X Arcade, but the X Arcade can then be withdrawn from the platform at any point. So let's say that you earn 100 X Arcade from a mission pool. You can take that 100 X Arcade, leave the platform, and swap it right into Solana or USDC or whatever. So it's not like it's vested where it's locked in our system as X Arcade. It's just an extra step for you to withdraw it from the protocol and then swap it out into whatever other token you want. And we'll talk a little bit later about why we set up our tokenomics that way.
Okay.
So kind of the first, we've really got two different actors within our ecosystem. So we have the mission pool operators, which we've spoken a little bit about. A MPO, or mission pool operator, is essentially the game guilds or the professional players that are operating the NFTs that Arcade owns. So really the benefits to them is that ability to operate the out of reach assets or the out of reach NFTs. And then there's also a scouting opportunity for these mission pool operators, right? So like if you're a game guild that's looking for talent and you're on the platform as an MPO, you could review the metrics or the performance of other MPOs and look for opportunity to recruit players that are really good at certain games. So it's kind of not only the ability for them to kind of leverage their existing expertise and NFTs, but really the ability to operate out of reach NFTs and kind of scout for talent from others. For mission pool contributors, those are essentially token holders. So we call these MPCs, and a mission pool contributor is anyone that is a X Arcade token holder that is on our platform. And the reason they're called a contributor is because the NPCs can kind of be thought of as it's kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like a focus group for like a research study. Is kind of so stick with me here for a second. So there's this GameFi space is so emerging, it's so new that there's a lot that we have to learn about people's preferences and kind of how they behave with certain APYs, certain activities, certain game guilds, certain types of gameplay. So really the arcade platform is a way for us to pull together all of those behavioral patterns. So it's not to say that you don't have to KYC necessarily on our platform, or dox yourself or anything like that, but we're able to look at your behavior on the platform and give back valuable insight to our partners, our game guilds and our game developers. So that's kind of the contribution that you guys are making by using our platform. And then in return for that contribution, you're getting that slice of the APY, right? You're getting that yield shared to you as kind of a compensation for your efforts, and your efforts being your behavior on the platform. So kind of in concept, a mission pool, the flow here is that a mission pool operator would create a mission based on their expertise and the NFTs that either they have or Arcade has. The missions then get listed on the platform as mission pools alongside metrics for the token holders to analyze and kind of review the past performance of the MPO and kind of the expected return from that activity. From there, the token holders are able to deposit their X Arcade into this mission pool, right? So in this sense, it's kind of like a staking protocol. So it's not technically staking because it's not an emission schedule, but what's actually happening is you're just clicking like deposit on a smart contract, and you're depositing your tokens into that activity. From there, the token holders receive a share of the rewards that are actually extracted from that activity. So, the mission actually goes forward, the mission pool operator or the game guild executes on that activity, and there's actual value extraction, right? So like if you're injecting capital into our model because you're earning a third-party token and then bringing it back into our ecosystem. So the token holders are kind of getting their piece, their proportional share of that. And then finally, the X Arcade that you have deposited into the contract is never at risk, right? You can never leave with less than you went in with. It's not gambling, right? You are literally just depositing your tokens, earning a yield for expressing your interest in that activity, and then you get that X Arcade back.
And then, so let's say there's this is an MPC, right? Mission.
Yeah, contributor.
Okay. So let's say there's a mission pool that lasts for a month and it earns 100 Solana, let's say. So then would you guys basically take that Solana and buy Arcade and then redistribute it back as X Arcade to the people that participated in that mission pool?
Yeah, so that's essentially the flow, right? So we have and I think it might even be, I'm going to jump, wait, is it? It's this one, then I'll jump back. But yeah, so that's essentially kind of the flow, is that the game is extracting value. So in your example, there's Solana that's being extracted from that activity, right? If needed, because we are a multi-chain solution, if it's on another chain like Ethereum, we can bridge it over to Solana. Once it hits the Solana network, the rewards are converted off of the open market into X Arcade. So that's creating buy pressure and volume on the open market there. And then it gets distributed via the mission pool to the users, to the NPCs and the MPOs. So really the reason this is a strong proposition for the tokenomic strength of the project is that we're not just an aggressive emission schedule. We're not introducing or diluting the market with new tokens to fuel this APY that you see in the mission pools, right? It is a recirculation of what has already been distributed. So this is very good for the value of the token.
Yeah, that's fire. That's genius.
And it's really only possible because we are backed by revenue, right? We're not backed by emissions. So because we're able to inject capital from these in-game activities from other metaverses, really makes for a strong proposition for us. But to
let me
yeah,
explain something, because I know someone's lost here. So when Josh says emissions, what he means is some tokens will come out and say they have 1 billion tokens, and they'll only release like 1 million to start with. And then they slowly release the other 1 billion over so many years or whatever. So there's just constantly more and more of that token coming out, which, as you guys know today with dollars and inflation, that decreases the value of it. So in this, with Arcade, the value is from the investors that are putting them into the mission pools, and then the real world value is being created on the blockchain in these play to earn games. So we're not just creating 1 billion Arcade tokens to pay people back. We're actually like going out and working, right, in air quotes, in video games to earn value to pay back the people that are providing the capital for the NFTs and the weapons and all that stuff you need in the games.
Yep. So yeah, we have, most projects out there, kind of the norm is for there to be a fairly aggressive emission schedule, because that's how they fund their staking pools. When you see like, when you see like 50% APY on PancakeSwap, that's an emission, right? They offset it with some burns and buybacks and stuff like that as a DeFi protocol, but that 50% is not being backed by anything. It's just a dilution of the supply. So really what sets us apart is that we're never diluting the supply with emission pools. And that's, I think this is kind of a novel idea. There's not really a whole lot, I don't know of any other project that's doing it that way. And I think that people are going to be surprised how well it makes the token perform.
I love it.
So the kind of the experience here for a user, just real quick, is you would buy the Arcade token, you would exchange it on our platform for X Arcade, right, at a 1-to-1 ratio. There's no fees to enter the platform or anything like that. You just get a 1-to-1 ratio for your token. You review the mission pools and kind of review the different activities, right? There might be one mission pool for Star Atlas. There might be one mission pool for Illuvium or Mirandus or ASM or Fluff World. So whatever the case may be, whatever metaverse or game you're interested in, you can kind of deposit your X Arcade into that mission pool. So your X Arcade is locked for the duration of the mission. So it's a 7-day mission, so to speak. You'd be depositing your tokens for 7 days. And then at the end of that period, you would get your reward plus your tokens back. So the mission starts, and the mission pool operator is actually using the NFTs to extract that value. Upon completion, you get your X Arcade plus a proportional share from the mission. And then from there, you can deposit back into a new mission pool, or you can swap your X Arcade back for Arcade at a 1-to-1 ratio to exit the ecosystem. So you're never locked in. You never have a situation where once you swap into X Arcade, there's not enough Arcade to like swap back. Because remember, when you swap your Arcade, it's being sent into an escrow wallet. It's not being like burned or sent out of the circulating supply. It's literally just being placed into escrow. So there's always a pegged 1-to-1 ratio between the two tokens.
And I see a really great way here to really just compound, like people are doing with a lot of nodes now. If you want to take profit, you can after a pool, but if you're really thinking long term and want to build something big, you could just keep compounding, these X Arcades you're getting into other missions to just keep getting more.
Exactly. So I think that's really what the sweet spot is going to be for users, is the people that are actually using the token as intended as a utility token. Every time the mission completes and you add to your X Arcade stack, you can withdraw that and go back into another mission, right? And it creates this cycle here where you're going from deposit to mission start to mission complete to deposit, mission start, mission complete. And over time, like Mike said, that's going to compound really aggressively, because you're going to be, every time that you add to your stack, your return for the next mission is going to be a little bit more. And so I think that's really where the sweet spot is going to be for people that are trying to get this GameFi exposure, is you can kind of treat it like a more active involvement of like going in and out of these mission pools a little bit more often. And it'll compound pretty nicely, I think.
I love it.
So just quick example here for a couple mission pools. So like two of the games we're working with, Star Atlas and Illuvium, both AAA quality, great games. For Star Atlas, let's say that it's a ship mission that's being operated for 2 weeks. So there's a max supply of how much X Arcade can be put into that specific mission. So it is a little bit of like, okay, first come, first serves type situation. We're going to structure the caps on these mission pools so that there's always room for there's always an opportunity to be in a mission pool, but maybe a mission pool you like more than another one fills up first, right? So there's a little bit of first come, first serve gamification there, but and the reason that we have caps on these is so that we can have more control over the APY that's generated. So if this was uncapped and everyone on the platform went into one mission pool, the APY for that activity might be like 5%, right? So we need to be able to control that economic variable a little bit so that the APY is favorable. And we have kind of a range between 100 to 200, maybe even 300% APY is kind of the range that we're hoping to be in.
Okay. So it'll kind of be like when, you kind of still have to pay attention because when whatever the Discord or Twitter says, hey, we're opening up a new Illuvium mission pool, you're probably going to want to act fairly quickly, especially if the APY is high, to get in there in time before it gets filled up. Yeah.
So, we're going to carefully monitor it and make sure. We also have some anti-whale measures in place. So, a whale can't just go in there and get 90% of a pool and kick everyone else out. There's going to be kind of a max amount that you can contribute per pool so that the smaller people still have an opportunity. But because we believe that everyone should have the same the same exposure or at least opportunity for exposure. But
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean there'll be a little bit, and we've looked into building in some kind of like, we might even have like push notification alerts and stuff like that to like let people know, like, hey, this mission pool is launching in 10 minutes. Like if you're interested in it, make sure that you are available or whatever. And that way people can kind of opt in to certain notifications. Like maybe if you want to set your notifications up so that it's only Illuvium mission pools, or maybe you want to set it up so it's only Star Atlas mission pools, right? We're going to try to give people a lot of control over their involvement. But yeah. So just quickly kind of about the scalability model. So, one concern, I guess, that some people have is, okay, you guys are going to get really top heavy if Arcade has to own all of the NFTs, right? So while that is something that we will continue to do, the initial mix of the NFTs is for us to own the majority of them, because that reduces our dependency on these third-party guilds and stuff like that, so that we can make sure we're providing value for the token holders right out of the gate. But over time, part of our scalability model is to incorporate NFTs that are held by others, right? So like if a hedge fund wants to go out and buy $10 million worth of NFTs because they want the exposure, rather than just sitting on those NFTs for price appreciation, they buy the NFTs, they benefit from the price appreciation, but they can also partner with Arcade to deploy those NFTs into our mission pools and collaborate with game guilds that we've vetted and know our quality to operate those NFTs to extract value for them. So that's kind of how we remain scalable, is over time, we're going to be incorporating a lot of NFTs that are owned by the mission pool operators or the NFT collectors.
Okay, so for example, I bought a piece of land in The Walking Dead coming up, a deed claim for a Gala game. So in the future, like once everything's up and running, I could like essentially allow you to or loan that to you or whatever, and then you guys could maximize the in-game potential of that on The Walking Dead.
Exactly. So like if you have this plot of land in The Walking Dead, which is actually a game that we're supporting as well, but if you have this plot, right, and you don't feel like you have the time or the energy or the expertise to actually operate that plot to the best of its ability, then what you do is you come to Arcade and say, okay, I want to continue to own this because I think it's going to go up in value, but I want you guys to play on it and extract value for me. so that it's not just a static asset that I'm holding, it's something that's revenue producing. And so that kind of it reduces your need to actually learn the game, play it, spend hours on it. You just come to Arcade and say, hey, I want to give you this plot of land, assign it to a guild you think is going to crush it, and then I want 80% of the returns from the revenue. And that's kind of the model. And then the 20% you give up is for the mission pool operator, the token holders, and stuff like that.
Awesome. Wow, this is even better. You're gonna make me spend so much money on this, Josh.
So in terms of game selection, just quickly, I'll note that we have very high standards for the types of games that we work with. Initially, Star Atlas and Illuvium are the ones that we're collaborating with, but there's a wide range of others that we're in talks with. We just had a meeting with Gala Games recently, so we're looking to add Mirandus and Walking Dead Empires to that list. We've got a great relationship with like the Fluff World team for all of the stuff they're building out. ASM, AFA. So really, I think the important thing to note here is just that we don't just take any game, because we do believe there's a lot of, frankly, excuse me, but there's a lot of crap, that's building. And so we have to kind of be careful that we're not just throwing weight behind anything. We really want Arcade to be the way that a token holder can kind of get so we want you to be able to buy the Arcade token and know that you're getting exposure to all of the best parts of GameFi without all of the bull crap, right? So in order for us to deliver on that, it's really necessary for our research team, which we have. I mean, Kazi, you've been on shows with him. Kazi is on our research team. So like we have really quality people that are spending literally all day researching these games and their economies to make sure that we're making wise decisions for our token holders.
And I think, that's what makes me even more excited and confident about investing with Arcade, is I know Kazi, and he is the number one DGen guy I've ever met. I mean, he knows
it's a super smart dude
going on anywhere.
Yeah, just a super smart dude. He's our chief investment officer at Arcade, and he kind of runs the research team. And we have about 5 people under him that work on research. So we have a fairly large and just so much brain power packed into one room. And they are, their full-time commitment is studying these games to make sure we're making wise choices. So we really want people to know that like the decisions we're making is in their best interest. We want to support the best parts of GameFi and really take away the need for you, Mike, to have to go out and research all of these games, because you can kind of trust that, okay, by owning the Arcade token, I'm kind of getting exposure to all of the best things that have already been vetted.
Right.
So kind of a quick overview of kind of the moving pieces behind the scenes here. So, we have the mission pool operator is supplied that inventory from Arcade or an NFT owner like you. The token holders then deposit their X Arcade into the mission pool. The mission begins, and the game guild or the mission pool operator is actually executing and operating that NFT. Mission pool completes. The X Arcade that was deposited into the pool always gets returned to the NPC, which is again the token holder. And then the rewards that were actually extracted from that in-game activity get divided up amongst several different areas here. So if there is an NFT owner, then they would get a piece. If there isn't an NFT owner, you would just take them out. The Arcade platform gets a small, like 5-10% platform fee. The mission pool operator, which is the game guild or the professional player, they get their little slice of the pie. And then the token holder or the NPC gets their piece. And then finally, a bonus rewards pool is basically just our way to kind of gamify the platform. So there'll be a small percent. It's not going to be a lot, maybe like, less than 5% is kind of what I'm estimating is going to be going to a bonus rewards pool, which is kind of our way to incentivize users. So, you can kind of think of it as, maybe for 1 month, it's whoever interacted with the most mission pools for that month, they get airdropped additional tokens. Or maybe if you were the person that had the highest return in a mission pool, you get a bonus, stuff like that. So it's just a way for us to gamify the activity on the platform and kind of, airdrop and reward back our users.
And is the distribution rewards, what those percentages would be, is that kind of still up in the air, or would it depend on the game or whatever?
Yeah, so it depends on the game. The arcade platform is always going to be probably between 5 to 10%. We're going to be able to tweak that a little bit um, based on the market sentiment. So like if we're in a bear market and like things are really low and we need to like be able to give a little bit more back to our mission pool contributors, we have a little bit of wiggle room to tweak. But the biggest variable is going to be between the mission pool operator and the mission pool contributor. So the split between the game guild and the token holder is always going to be kind of up in the air depending on the activity, depending on the quality of the guild, right? So like you can kind of imagine if YGG, which for the listeners, YGG is probably like one of the most established game guilds. They're like known for being like the best crypto gamers, in the industry. If YGG is operating a mission pool and then there's an identical mission pool that's being operated by a small game guild you've never heard of, then YGG's cut might be a little bit higher because you're paying more for a guild that has more reliability, more notoriety. So that's why it's kind of variable, because the lesser known guilds might be giving up a little bit more percentage because they don't have that notoriety.
Right.
But I will say that the lion's share is always going to be going to the token holder, right? So I would say between 60 to 70% of all yield extracted from these activities is going to go to the token holder. It's never going to be like a small percentage. It's always going to be the majority.
That makes sense.
So we talked about the earnings, not emissions, when we jumped ahead a little bit earlier. But yeah, just super excited that we have the ability to kind of have this model backed by revenue. This is kind of text heavy, so I'm going to touch on one point. But I think really the main thing is that we are a utility token, right? We're not an equity token, and so with that, there are some benefits. I think the most important one that I like to note here is the control aspect. So, when we look at when you look at like an equity token, usually you have kind of a blanket exposure to everything that project is doing, right? So like if we were an equity token and we're involved with 5 different games, you would kind of have forced exposure to all 5 of those games. And what really makes our platform and the utility of our token powerful is that, Mike, if you're really bullish on Mirandus and you're bearish on Star Atlas, you have the option to only stake or deposit into Mirandus mission pools, and you can avoid all of the Star Atlas ones, right? So you're not forced to have exposure to a game that you don't think is going to do well. You can come to our platform and pick and choose, what guilds, what mission pools, what activities, maybe even within a certain game, like within Star Atlas, maybe you're bullish on mining missions, but you're bearish on farming missions, right? So I think the main takeaway here is that our users have as much control over the level of exposure that they have as a gamer would have, which is really unique. It's like the first of its kind that you have that level of control in what kind of exposure you get to the metaverse.
No, I love it. Makes complete sense.
So quick slide here, talking a little bit about platform fees and our WAGME bonus pool. So for the listeners, I don't know, you want to tell them what WAGME means? I
was going to let you do that. I'm still new to all this stuff.
Okay, so yeah, it's kind of fun, right? So WAGME means we are going to make it, and it's kind of a crypto slang. It's like a cultural thing where like people say it and they'll like hashtag it in crypto Twitter and stuff, and it's basically just like it's like an all-inclusive, all crypto people are going to make it together kind of thing. So it's like a good vibes situation. But so we named it that for our bonus pool because essentially what we're doing with our platform fees is we're locking those fees into a smart contract for 50 years. And that sounds like a really long time, and it is, but and again, just the platform fees. So we're taking fees on our platform and then locking them into this WAGME bonus pool for 50 years as a way to have a little bit more control over our tokenomic strength. And then at the end of the 50-year period, anyone that has stuck with Arcade over the years, or like my kids or my grandkids that have, stuck around with the Arcade platform are going to have the ability to tap into that bonus pool when it unlocks. And until then, all of the fees that we're collecting are getting locked away, right? They're not circulating. They're not being burnt, so they still exist on chain, but they're not circulating. And I'll let you kind of draw your own conclusions on what that means for the token price, and the value proposition for the token, that we're going to be locking up so much of the supply in addition to not having an aggressive emission schedule.
Oh, I love it. And if you guys can't read between the lines, when you lock something up and it's not available on the market, the price of it will go up. It's just a simple supply and demand. And I love it that you're not burning it, because you're kind of just incentivizing people to think long term, even like generational wealth of like, I'm a little bit older than Josh. So in 50 years, I won't even really care about money, probably. But, I'm going to
yeah. So I mean, I kind of look at it.
What'd you say?
I was going to say, we almost called it like the generational wealth bonus pool or something,
Yeah.
but just WAGME just felt better. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of, so you, Mike, you benefit from it directly because, like you said, supply and demand. And then if your kids are involved in crypto 50 years from now, right? Like your kids like retiring, like retirement age, and all of a sudden they're like, holy crap, I just got $1 million from Arcade from this bonus pool that I forgot even existed. Then that's like a retirement plan for them.
Yeah,
right?
This is really the new pension, Josh. Like pensions aren't sustainable. They're all going to probably crash here soon and people are going to get hurt. But something like this is much more sustainable than some state pension fund that, is just destroying public education and lots of other things. But no, I love it, man. That's genius.
Yeah. So that's kind of, that's what we're doing. So yeah, we're not burning it. We're not, it's being taken out of circulation, but it is still on chain. So yeah, we're striking a really nice balance here and trying to give back to the community. And we think that whoever does kind of stick with Arcade over the years, because we plan to be around forever, and the nature of blockchain, even if I died or the company went under, Arcade is always going to be on chain. So someone 50 years from now is going to be able to tap into this smart contract that we're going to begin shoveling Arcade tokens into. So really exciting. And this just kind of talks a little bit about, so we do have, going back to kind of the definition of emissions, so the APY in the emission pools is not backed by an emission schedule, but we do have an LP incentive, right? And LP is liquidity pool providing. And Mike, I don't know if you want to kind of break that down for them real quick, because I know you're familiar with that, or I can.
Are you going to have multiple ones, or just stick with Solana to start off with, or USDC?
Yeah. So it's probably just going to be USDC and Arcade. So that's going to be the LP. We're only going to have probably one pool initially, but essentially how that works is if you provide liquidity for the decentralized exchange, like if you get half, like if there's $1,000 you want to put in, you would put half of it into USDC and then the other half of it into Arcade, and then do what's called provide that liquidity to the decentralized exchange, and you get compensated for doing that. So we do have an emission rate. It's going to be somewhere between 200 to 300% APY probably for the people that put liquidity up. And that is the only emissions that are coming onto the platform, is the liquidity, or the liquidity rewards. And so we did some modeling on kind of the lockup from the bonus pool against the release of tokens from the LP. And even with like a very modest transaction quantity, right? So about 500 transactions per day. So you can imagine if we launch with 10,000 users, if only 500 of them transact per day, that puts us at anything above this 100% is hyper deflationary. So you mentioned, we're deflationary by design because we have a max supply, right? We can never be inflationary like the US dollar.
Right.
But we're by definition in all stages deflationary, but we become hyper deflationary, which just means that we are not only deflationary and releasing supply, but we're actually locking up supply faster than it's being released anywhere above this 100% line. So you can see kind of the curves on the projections here. If we really do well, and even on year one, if people are doing twice as many transactions as we're predicting, everything out of the gate is hyper deflationary. We're going to be locking up more tokens than we're supplying to the market, which is going to do not financial advice, but probably going to do some pretty crazy stuff to the token.
Means we're going to the moon, kids.
Moon mission.
Pack your bags.
In terms of kind of going back to our roots quickly here, we have a lot of considerations for Main Street integration. So our initial inspiration for this was the big money, the traditional finance people that want exposure to GameFi but don't know how to get it. So we're integrating with things like FTX Pay. We've got third-party companies that are coming to us to build out like NFT management or token management to like basically be kind of like a fund where you can just give them your arcade tokens and they'll deploy it for you. It's not something we can provide directly, but we're working with some third parties on that. For the design of the platform, it's meant to be very intuitive so that people that don't have a lot of Web3 knowledge or a lot of crypto experience are able to come to the platform and understand how it works. And then finally, we have a really robust knowledge base for not only crypto. And I mean, you can ask Mike. So my background and Kazi's background is really like we've been educating people in crypto for years. So we already have a lot of this content created. We already know how to teach people how to use crypto because we've been doing it for so many years. And so we're compiling a lot of that information, and not only general crypto information, but GameFi information about specific games and how to use Phantom Wallet and the Solana network. We're building all of this stuff into our platform.
Awesome.
So, we're not a game guild, we're not a game developer. And so I think that the main thing that people look to us for, they're like, okay, so where do you fit into the kind of the puzzle that is GameFi? And, I really just, high level overview here, we are for all of the people in the space, right? We fit nicely and benefit all of the other actors in the ecosystem currently. So we don't really have competitors. And that's a really powerful place to be in as a company, that we don't have to worry about having like 10 other competitors we have to be better than. We're really kind of a first mover in this space, providing this infrastructure layer. Whether it be guilds, players, developers, people that just want to be users of the platform or contributors and get their piece of the yield. Really there's something for everyone here. So getting a little bit into the token sale. So we're currently gearing up for our public sale, which is occurring on early to mid Q2. And we do have some pre-sale rounds that we've had. We'll talk a little bit later about some of our backers, but we have really amazing backers that are supporting us. And I've talked to Mike a little bit about being able to carve out a little bit of this private round at a lower valuation for some of his friends and followers in his community. So definitely let Mike know if you guys are interested in getting involved in the project. I need to check kind of our numbers and see where we're at, but I'm going to do my best to try to get you guys in at a lower valuation, or kind of like an early bird discount with alongside some of these public tokens to try to give you guys some of that lower exposure and give Mike's community a little bit of a head start.
That sounds good. Can you go back 1 second?
Yeah.
So 1 billion total supply.
Yep, 1 billion total supply.
And then, so once we factor in the seed, private, strategic, and public, there's still going to be ones that can come out, correct?
Yep. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that here in a second.
Okay. Gotcha.
But at launch we're gonna have 37,500,000. So that's 100% at TGE, means token generation event or token sale. And then we'll have 5% of whatever this strategic round ends up being. It's going to be a pretty small number. So around, less than or equal to 40 million tokens that will be circulating at launch. And then the seed and private round tokens, the way that these work is that there's a cliff investing schedule. A cliff means that that's how much time, kind of like a gap between when the token launches and when you start receiving your tokens. So as an early investor for like our seed backers and stuff like that, these are large institutions. So we don't want them to be able to dump their supply on the open market and crush all of you little guys, right? So the way that we set it up is there's a 12-month cliff. They have to wait a year before they even start getting tokens. That gives our project time to pull in liquidity from the outside and become, a little bit stronger and have the price have a little bit more stability. And then a linear vest means that for every day during that term, you'll receive more tokens. So it's a daily unlock. So like for an 18-month linear vest, that means for 18 months, every single day, you're going to get more arcade tokens deposited into your wallet. And it's an even distribution across those 18 months.
So let's just say myself and some people on the runners get in with the private round. We won't actually get any of those tokens for 6 months once the project is launched.
Exactly. So basically the trade-off is that you're getting a lower price in exchange for not having immediate access to it. And what's interesting about our model is that we even have some institutions that are buying at public because they recognize that the ability to deposit those tokens in the mission pools immediately is actually more valuable than
right. And that's
waiting.
So that's what I was getting to. So let's just say I'm planning on putting 10 grand into this. I don't want to necessarily put all 10 grand into the private round because I want to save some to get some at the public sale to actually start using it.
Exactly. So what we recommend is like a 50-50 split for the people that are interested in private. Is like, if you want to put 10 grand in, put like 5 in at private to get that lower valuation, and then put the other 5 in at public so you can use it right away. And you kind of have a balance between the two extremes.
And then you won't get anything in the private. You won't get anything for 6 months. And then after that, for 18 months, you'll get a little bit of arcade every day.
Exactly. So it's evenly distributed, right? So if you have 100,000 tokens that are vested, then you would be getting, an evenly divided split every day for 18 months.
Okay. No, that's awesome. I love that. Genius again. And so you guys, just if you're new to crypto, this is genius, because what happens is in a lot of projects, like all the big, rich, elite VCs will get in, venture capitalists. And then once those tokens are released, they dump them and sell them and crush all the new people who paid a higher price. So this is great how they're doing this to
we're preventing that
and not have a huge crash.
Exactly. We're preventing the ability for a whale to dump on people for, at least 3 years. And that's powerful because, like Mike said, if we have, some of our backers have very large tickets, right? Like crypto.com Capital, that's a huge, huge company. And so they come in and they buy a bunch of tokens. And then if we didn't have this vesting schedule, let's say at the end of 12 months, the price is high because all of you nice people at public bought, they could dump millions of dollars worth of tokens at one time and crush the price. So that's what we're preventing by doing it this way.
Awesome. Love it.
So quick look at the token allocation. Again, we have a very long cliff invest for even longer than the other rounds. Like for the team, like myself and the other people that are working on it, the team token allocation is 20%. It has an 18-month cliff. So we don't get any tokens for 18 months from launch, and then a 2-year vest from there. For the liquidity rewards, this is that LP incentive that I told you about earlier. So that's only 12.5% of the supply. So this is the amount that would ever be released via emissions. And that's spread across at least 4 years. For the token sale, we're at 20% with a cliff invest by round. The token vault here is 38.5%, and that's a soft block. And I'll talk a little bit more in the next slide about how that works. And then we have our advisors here, and then for liquidity. And I'll back up real quick. So for the public sale, the sale is occurring as a fair launch. And for those that aren't familiar with what a fair launch is, it's essentially like, it's kind of like a Dutch auction. And the reason we're doing it that way instead of a static price is so that the market can kind of decide what this token is worth, right? We don't want to say this token's worth $1 and then the market say, no, your token's only worth 30 cents, right? That wouldn't be fair to you guys. So the reason we're doing a fair launch, and we're launching a little bit on Solana and then a little bit on Ethereum as well, just to make sure that we can accommodate both communities. And then the people that launch on the Ethereum network are just going to bridge the tokens back to Solana for the platform. But the fair launch is going to allow for anyone to kind of get their piece of the arcade token without the need or concern of having to overpay, because there's always going to be a fair market value. The market, determines what our token's worth. So yeah, we're looking at the supply a little bit here, to like Mike brought up. So because we only have 40 million tokens right at launch, there is a billion tokens total. Now, the token vault is not included because there's a soft lock on it. That means that those tokens never have to enter circulation. So the reason those tokens are in a vault is so that if we do need to expand, or let's say that a new game let's like Mirandus, right? Let's say Mirandus comes to market and we decide, okay, we, for the good of the token holder, need to expand to Mirandus and get another $10 million worth of assets or whatever. Then it's at our discretion to unlock the vault to sell those tokens to a venture capital partner that's backing that expansion. And then we're able to get what we need to expand to that game. So the reason that it's not included in the supply unlock is that it's not by schedule that those tokens are unlocked. If we were to create enough revenue that we don't need to tap into the vault, then we would actually have less than 60-70% of the supply even after 4 years actually circulating.
Okay, got it. And did
Makes
you
sense?
say you were launching on Ethereum?
Yeah, so let me clarify. We are a Solana-based project. Our platform is only on Solana, but we're doing a kind of a two-part launch. We're launching first on Solana, and then a couple days after that, we're doing a small token offering on Ethereum for the people that don't know how to use Solana or don't want to use Solana for the public auction. So it's basically just a temporary ability for them to buy the token on Ethereum. And then once they have that ERC20 token or that Ethereum token, they bridge it or swap it back for the token on Solana. So there's not actually going to be any support for the Ethereum chain on our platform. It's really just an ability for the Ethereum community to use their preferred network to buy the token.
Okay, no, that sounds good.
So I'll touch on a couple quick things here. We're getting to the end here, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. But so we're kind of completing our rounds here. This needs to be updated. We're probably gonna, we're definitely. I mean, we're almost to the end of Q1 here, so we're definitely going to be doing the public sale early to mid Q2. We're going through our platform audit right now, testing all of the code. We want to make sure we don't launch anything that hasn't been thoroughly tested and audited by firms. And then, really, I think the main thing to point out here is, just over time, Q4 and beyond of this year is really going to be focused a lot on expanding to new games, to new game guild partners. We have some sponsorship type things in the works. So it's going to be really exciting.
So the version 1 platform launch in Q2, that's actually where there will be mission pools.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're doing that alongside our TG. So what we don't want is for people to buy the token at public and then be like, okay, now what do I do with it? So we're launching our platform alongside our token generation event, so that as soon as you buy the token at public, you go to the fair launch site, you say, okay, I want $100 worth of arcade or $1,000 worth of arcade. You buy it, and then you can take it immediately over to our platform and start earning yield from it.
I love that, because one of my biggest pet peeves in crypto is people release this token and then they're like, and we're going to do all this cool stuff in a year, and
exactly.
we're going to have a Visa debit card.
Yeah. So what we didn't want, for that reason, right? We didn't want people to buy the token and be like, wait, so your guys' platform isn't even going to launch for another quarter? And that piss off the community. So we're pretty against that. It's very important to me that our platform launches alongside our token. So that's kind of why there's a little bit of a delay, because we're waiting on the audits currently. We want to make sure that we audit the code, and that there has been a little bit of a delay in getting that back. So for that reason, we're having to push.
Audited with?
We're getting audited with Halborn. It's HALBORN. That is one of the, if not the leading audit firm on Solana. They actually work with Solana Labs directly. Okay. So we have the best of the best auditing the code.
Awesome.
So quick overview of the team here, just to see that, we are all real people. We're doxed. The biggest thing I've always told people over the years, that if it's an anonymous team, look twice at it, because it's really easy for them to rug you and take your money and run away. We are a docs team. Everyone on our team is has our actual identity tied to it. I'm the CEO, and then a lot of these, or at least a few of these people, I think Mike knows. Maybe not. Now that I'm looking at it, I guess just Kazi maybe.
Yeah.
But we have a really wide range of talent. So I think the main thing to point out here is just that we are all crypto enthusiasts and gamers, but we're not just crypto enthusiasts and gamers, right? We come from a lot of background in our respective roles. So like I have over a decade of experience in business. Like our CFO Matt has nearly 2 decades in banking. Kevin, who heads up partnerships and business development, he's got 21 years of equity experience, and like he wrote like mortgage deals on Wall Street and stuff. Like he has tons of corporate experience, and so really everyone on the team has a lot of experience. And we have in-house legal counsel, right? We have Jaleel, who's a practicing attorney. So we've cut no corners. We have a really talented team with us. So taking a quick look kind of at the fun stuff here. So we have some really big names on our backer list. Solana Ventures itself. So the actual venture arm of the chain that we're launching on is one of our leading backers. Crypto.com Capital. I know Mike Tharp loves his Crypto.com card, if I remember correctly. We've got Crypto.com Capital, huge name. One of our lead backers here, and just a few others that you guys may recognize. But if you're not super into the crypto space, you may not know who the big names are. But like Merit Circle is a really big company, or a really big VC. Shima Capital, LD Capital, Star Launch, Parsec. These are all really big names. Like Mike may be familiar with Parsec.
I was going to say I'm familiar with Parsec and Big Brain Holdings and Merit Capital. I've definitely seen a couple of times. So really, if you guys don't know why Josh is telling us this, it's because people already in this space who are very successful and have lots of money see a lot of value in what Arcade's doing. So when you have this many backers and firms coming in and saying, we want to put money, into this venture because we see it being successful, you as an individual investor says, okay, well, if all of these people who are in this space are backing this with their capital, maybe I should consider that. It might be a good idea for me to do it. So this just gives a lot more credibility to what, Arcade's doing.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you got to be careful sometimes. Some of these projects that are just trying to raise funds like at public and they have no backers, like you don't really know anything about what they're doing. It hasn't been vetted by anybody, right? I mean, we've went through such grueling processes with all of these companies to like vet the legitimacy of what we're looking at. I mean, like Solana Ventures, like look through our code. I mean, you can really rest easy that when you have names this big on your cap table, that it's been looked at by some really important people. I mean, crypto.com does not invest in BS, right? So all of these people are really recognizing that we're providing a solution for GameFi that's really well needed. And yeah, we're just excited to share it with everybody. And then I think this is the last slide here is just, we have some of our advisors are the best in the industry, right? Like we have Danny from Alluvium, we have Atash from Star Launch, we have, several advisors that are, in the media or marketing industry. Plutus 21 here, Hamiz, his firm was one of the major backers that funded FTX, the exchange, their US expansion. Like we have people on this advisory board that are like the best of the best in the crypto industry.
Crypto Capital is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. To actually have the CEO of Star Launch and CFO of Alluvium is, I mean, you can't lose with that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we've got really talented people supporting the project and our vision. But yeah, no, that's kind of that's the end of the slides here. It's kind of a lot of information, but I'm glad we got through all of it and kind of got something down for your followers and your community. But yeah, if you have any last questions, I'm happy to answer.
I mean, you pretty much nailed it all. I'm trying to think of, even if I was playing devil's advocate, what I would say. The one question that came into my mind is how, like, do I have to kind of trust you, like when it comes to the NFT stuff? Like if I give you that Walking Dead land, like I'm assuming I have to transfer it to your wallet for you guys to use it, or not necessarily?
Yeah, so not necessarily. And that's the cool thing about what how all of this works. So a lot of these games are building in the ability for it's kind of like a scholarship program like Axie works. So like within something like Walking Dead, you'll be able to transfer the rights for me to operate that land without giving up the ownership or the custody of it.
Oh, okay.
So this is an important thing that's being built into the space. Like Star Atlas and Illuvium are all going to have a solution for this, like we call it trustless kind of lending, right? You're basically giving us the ability to operate that NFT without having custody or the ability to sell it. So yeah, that's definitely an important factor that I should have probably touched on earlier. That there is no risk of loss here. You're never going to be, you're never going to be having to trust someone else. We believe in crypto. There needs to be a trustless solution.
And then when the public sale does launch, I know you said it's a fair launch, but like I thought I saw there was like you had an idea of what the token price might be.
Yeah, so we used an average price just to try to like build in our calculations and our model for like how much capital we're bringing in and stuff like that. So we had to take some projections, but the nature of a fair launch is that the market really decides what it's going to be. We've set our projections or our calculations off of 32 cents, I believe, which is kind of that's like the low end of where it would be. But I don't think it's really even going to get that low because it'll sell out at where the demand is, right? So if we start the Dutch auction at $2 and we kind of have like a floor of like 32 cents or maybe even like 50 cents, then if people recognize that this is a really quality project and they want it, they're going to have to rush to get it before someone else buys the remainder of it. So it's kind of going to be an interesting situation where you kind of have to play the pros and cons of, do I wait to see if it goes lower, or if I wait and it goes higher? Because with these Dutch auction styles like CopperFi, if someone comes in and there's a lot of buy pressure, you could end up buying above the price that it starts at. It could start at $2 with a decay curve that basically says like, if nobody is buying, then it'll drop to this price. But if people are buying, the number is just going to continue to go up, and you could end up paying more than the opening price was. So it's kind of a fickle balance. You want to be careful. I wouldn't recommend that anyone try to wait for the bottom price, because I mean, if you want to, that's your at your discretion. But we are pretty confident that it is going to sell out relatively quickly based on the support and the kind of the polls that we've done. And if that happens, I would just hate for someone to be like, oh, I was waiting until the floor price, because it may never get that low, right?
And so then anyone on my team that wants to get in for the private sale, should they just get a hold of me and I'll run that through you guys? What would be the best way to? I'm sure there's lots of people that want to do this. So
yeah, so I think George Dixon. He's my executive assistant. Yep. He is putting together a list of everyone that's interested in kind of the private allocation. So you could collaborate with him. That would probably be best for like maybe you put together a list and then you send it to George. Like, I think the only information we would need is like a name and then what amount total that they want to put in, because we'll have ways of kind of calculating then what amount we can give them. So because I don't think we'll be able to give everyone their ideal size. We just don't have that much room, but we can definitely see what we can do. And then we're also, for the people that are getting in at private, like, so let's say you want to put 10K in, 5K private, 5K public. The way that we're recommending people do it, and again, you have kind of the ability to choose here, I think, but the what we're recommending is that you send in the 10, and basically our team will deploy that 5 for you at public at whatever the last price is. So like, instead of you having to worry about, am I going to be in front of my computer before this sells out, we're basically going to be monitoring it, and whenever the price reaches its lowest point, so it might not be the very low point, or it might not be the floor, right? But if like we see that less than 1% of the tokens are available, then we would deploy your 5K there, so that we can kind of get you that lowest public price without you having to worry about tracking it. So that's what we're offering to do, and that's probably what I would recommend for your community is like, probably do a split between private and public for whatever amount you want to put in. That way you have a mixed bag of what you can use immediately, and then that lower entry that you can have. And then we'll collaborate with my executive assistant George to like complete all of that, and then our investment team will deploy it like at the very last few minutes before the sale ends to make sure you get the lowest price at public.
Okay, no, that's awesome. And then what would token do you guys want to send, USDC or Solana or what?
Yeah, so we're pretty flexible. It can come on, because we are multi-chain and we're working with a lot of different games. I think ideally it would need to be probably a stable coin either on Ethereum or Solana. So those are kind of the two options between. So if someone doesn't really know a lot about Solana, or they don't have any funds there, they could use Ethereum. And if you have like Ethereum currently or Bitcoin or whatever, we would just ask that you swap it or exchange it on a central exchange for like a stable coin like USDC or USDT, or and then you can kind of make the contribution. And what we'll do is we'll send you a form that has like an address, a wallet address where you can send it. And George, my assistant, will be there to like walk anyone through it that needs the help on it.
Okay, awesome. And you're thinking public is probably like May-ish or something?
Yeah, so public is probably going to be like, I would say mid to late May is kind of what I'm looking at currently. And then for private, we're actually in the process of closing those rounds within the next 7 to 10 days. Okay. So I would say, yeah, this is something that like if your community wants access to private, I mean, you guys can always get in at public at your own discretion. But if you want that lower price point for private, or that like mixed bag of like 50-50, then we would need to have that within like the next week. So maybe just post up this recording or information and let your community know, and then let George know kind of what kind of demand you guys have, and we can go from there.
Okay, awesome.
Cool.
Wherever you guys are watching this video, I will put a link to the Discord to Arcade. So make sure you join there. I'll put a link to their Twitter as well. Follow them. Anything you're investing in crypto, you want to join their Discord and follow them on Twitter to keep up to date with what's going on. Like if you're going to put hundreds or thousands of dollars into something, you want to make sure you do some research and you see like, what is the community like? Do they actually know what they're doing? How active are they? So make sure you join Arcade and follow them there. I'm excited for this. Obviously do your own research. This is not financial advice, but I know this space. I see the problems and the solutions that are needed. I see Arcade filling a lot of this, knowing, Josh and Kazi personally obviously helps, gives me a lot more security in knowing what they're doing because I've worked with them before. But to me, this is a no-brainer. So Josh, thank you for jumping on today.
Awesome.
And I'll throw your Twitter down below too in the video if you guys want to follow him. He's always buying crazy bored apes and fluffs and fighters and all sorts of NFTs.
Oh man. Yeah. Fun times. Yeah. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate your time. And yeah, look forward to hearing back from you guys.
All right. Sounds good. All right. We'll talk to you guys soon. Lace up. Let's get wealthy. Peace.
Building wealth, buying assets, about to buy me an address. I'm running with the runners now. We run where the cash is. Took it from under the mattress. Now it's all over the atlas.